I must say that I've learned a lot. It's beautiful that I didn't speak fast, because if I had spoken fast, probably I would have already left. And I'm one of the victims. One of the victims who have been undermining mental health. So my being one of the last speakers has been a benefit. And I can confirm to you that I've realized the importance of mental health awareness, and I've also been challenged, since we do not, as an insurance fraternity, we do not give comprehensive coverage on mental health. So I've already gotten feedback, and before I start my presentation, I have to give you a word of confidence that this is something that we are going to take very seriously to ensure that it is fully and comprehensively covered in hospitals and treatment centers. I do not know whether the presentation is ready. It's almost ready, I've been told. And as we wait for the presentation, I want to go back to the earlier presenters. One of the moving points was the testimony which we got from Joseph. I wish he was here. I don't know whether he's still here. I wish I could ask him a question, how he survived being a victim at that time, because I believe I was thinking what he was talking about. I was telling myself at that point, I would have become a patient at that point, because it was quite a challenge. But that also confirms that they are strong people. And because we are not as strong as others, never underestimate your mental capacity. Maybe you're already sick and you're just strong. So today, when we speak about insurance, most of us know insurance now through medical coverage, because most of the organizations provide medical insurance. Others understand insurance because of the property, especially motor insurance. We made a survey and we realized that most of the traffic policemen on the road do not understand why motor third party is important. They only think it's just, and most of the population think you just have to have that sticker so that you survive the traffic guy. So there's a bit of lack of understanding why third party is important. But I'm here to speak about the relevancy of insurance for mental health. Ladies and gentlemen, the speakers have spoken about the aftermath. What happens when this and the other happen? But in insurance, and I want you to understand today that insurance is simply one of the preventive measures when it comes to mental health. Most of the things we talk about in insurance, most of the services we provide, are also underestimated by the public, because people think, one, they are insured by God, you know? And we normally forget that some of the responsibilities we have was already passed on to us by God, and God went to rest, because he knows that we have well-built brain to handle some of the situations. So it's quite important that we get to understand today why insurance is important. We know there are various sources of mental health illness or mental health problems. Some are social, some are environmental. But my focus is going to be on the economic ones, where insurance really falls. You are going to realize that when we speak about insurance, we are talking about prevention. We are talking about preparedness, such that in the event of occurrence of risk, you thought early about it and you protected yourself. So when we talk about the economic effects which cause mental health illness, you look at a situation where you've lost your loved one. A situation where this loved one was the pivotal breadwinner of your family. And you do not have any resort of how you're going to survive the next many years that you want to live. You could have children. You could have a property which is mortgaged, and you took a loan against it. And the bank insures the property against fire because the bank won't accept liability, but your property is not insured against your life in the event that you die. So what happens? The property is auctioned and sold off, and you are left with no source of income. So that can cause a lot of damage mentally. That can cause a lot of damage, and you've seen a lot of properties being auctioned by banks. Imagine your children. You're having hope of taking them to universities and very beautiful colleges, and you are alive and kicking. You are able to pay school fees right now. You are healthy. And an illness hits you and you suffer a total disability. That you are unable to get involved in your work, to earn a living, to get the money and pay the tuition or the school fees to lead your children to the university that you are dreaming about. The inability to have those funds alone can cause a mental illness. You will break down, anxiety, depression, and the rest. So what we do in insurance is to make this possible prior to occurrence. We enable you plan to avoid the depression, the anxiety, and various mental illnesses in the event that they occur. But we also consider non-occurrence of the same, because we also know that some of the causes of mental illness is unpreparedness for a sweet retirement. Somebody has spoken about civil servants who retire. They have worked for 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, and today is the day they're supposed to stop working. And they do not know what to do out there. Probably have been able to receive some money. They are not trained of how to use this money. They do not know anything about investment because they have been receiving their check every month and they have been surviving. In insurance, particularly in ICEA, we train these people prior to that. Because imagine you received 100 million shillings that you have never received in bulk. And within 2 months, a year, it's all done. You have no job, you have no money, the responsibilities are still available. You are finished. Tell me if that won't cause a mental illness. Tell me. The process of mental illness before it actually occurs. Because you are so much focused on the illness itself, but not the process. And the process is this life that you're living. This life that you are living is the process. You're either prepared for a disaster or you're going to be caught unawares. And when you're caught unawares, now it hits you. You become so anxious. Your esteem is lost. You even fear yourself. You want to run away from yourself only that you are the same person. So we need to think about this. Next slide. We need to think about this and understand that when you're not prepared for a disaster, you are a looming victim of mental illness. We've seen so many people without any other source of income, and when COVID hit us, they lost their employment and they had no solution. We may not have the statistics, but what I'm certain of, and probably you are, Many people committed suicide wherever they were. Some died because of depression. Right now, some are completely out of their mind. If you visited a teacher, a primary teacher, secondary teacher at that time when schools closed and they continued prolonging the beginning of schools, I saw one lady resorting to laying bricks. You realize what it meant lacking preparedness for a disaster. What we do in insurance is to train you, is to coach you, is to handhold you. And we show you that disaster or uncertainty is real. It is real, it is real. Just like your child doesn't know whether you're going to die tomorrow, but they have a dream of going to university. For them, they see you as their hero. And when the hero falls, the child has fallen. You cannot be the hero of your children, and there is no cushion waiting for your fall. The moment that cushion is not there, your child is a victim. They either resort to drugs because they cannot go to school, and that will also initiate a mental illness. When we speak about families, we have been talking about the breakdown of marriages, husbands running away from home as a cause of depression to wives. But I've also seen wives running away from home and the husbands are left lonely. Not so common here, but it is there. But I've also seen children being mistreated. The environment that we create in our families, in our homes, which causes or leads to mental illness, is lack of a managed cash flow. Today, the life of living is very expensive. Fuel is becoming very rampant in terms of price. Food, the simple things. What happens? Because you do not have a resort, anger will strike. You don't want to answer questions of demand in terms of things that you need to provide to family. But what we do in insurance is that these are things that we cater for with our services. Just like we cater for retirement, we cater for financial enhancement to your business. But you must have acted fast because you had a fear of such disasters. It starts with you to prepare. Stop dreaming about a good life without preparing for it, or without having different routes to achieve. Because that way, you are catalyzing mental illness to self. Why? Supposedly, you are going to retire in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. Have you asked yourself the question, how am I going to retire? And you have been working, and people in your family have been watching you working for 25 years, 30 years. One, you'll have the fear to solicit for funds from your family members because they know you've been working. Probably they call you a rich person. Probably you're internally poor. But because there are these available benefits, you look very rich. That the reputation that you have built over the 25 years, 30 years that you've worked is maintained. Once you lose that, you are a looming victim of mental illness. So, I'm trying to be very clear, and I want to use a shorter period of time because we have run out of time. One thing I want to advise us, let us not wait until we've suffered the mental illness. Let us accept that it is just behind our doors, or it is just close to us, or we are already ill. That's why your organizations provide medical insurance, because they know you can at any one time fall sick. So they want your full attention towards work, even if you have a sick child, because anybody at home will take the child to hospital, present a card, and they are treated. You remain focused at work. So the organization is protecting its interest and that which they hired in you, to keep giving them that which they hired at any one time, even if your wife is sick. To self, a burden to a family, a burden to your children. These are serious questions that we need to ask ourselves, so that before this illness attacks us or comes into reality in our lives, we are prepared. We start with it ourselves. Take a glance at your family. How prepared are you? Do you know that, for example, if you die intestate, if you don't have a will and you die today, with all the property that you have, which your family does not know, that is the cause of mental illness to them. I don't want us to start thinking so much of the statistics. You are part of the statistics. Why are you so interested in how many people are sick and you're already sick? You know, this afternoon. But I want to encourage us, and myself inclusive, the battle against mental illness is within our grasp. We need to fight it right from our own homes, right from our own lives, before we go out there to speak about it to any other person. So it's quite important and necessary for us to know you have the responsibility. You have the responsibility to speak to a counselor. I've even seen some with t-shirts saying free counseling. Talk to them. But when you see people speak to you about our services, stop running away. Stop naming us things. These people are thieves. You have no answers. Take an initiative. Stop lamenting. These I've seen people they see insurance, they run away. Somebody is very interested in insuring the car, not the life. And you ask yourself, isn't this mental illness? You have a beautiful property, it's a source of income of your family, it is not insured against anything like fire. You have already put it in the bank and you have gotten money against it as a collateral security. You can die today and the bank takes the properties. They are right, because banks do not accept liabilities. Transfer liability to insurance, because that is our business and that is a prevention of mental illness. So ladies and gentlemen, allow me to stop here, but I want to leave this statement to you. Mental illness is real. Prevention is within your hands. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that insightful presentation. I am so glad that you are helping us to make decisions about taking control of our mental health through insurance. However, I have noted this. I am in private practice, and there are so many people that want counseling services, but they are not covered by the insurance companies. Why wouldn't, for example, ICEA not come up with a policy where when someone comes up with your card seeking for counseling services, all they have to do is show their card and receive the counseling services? However, unlike the medical services where people show their cards and treated, people cannot show cards and get counseled. So is there a way that you can identify certain stakeholders, say Uganda Counseling Association, and whoever goes to Uganda Counseling Association, presents their card, can access counseling, and then you can settle Uganda Counseling Association. So I urge you to please include counseling services in your policies. The ones at the hospitals are not adequate. Thank you.
Thank you. I will also suppose spending maybe 1 hour or 1.5 hours or even 2 hours with the patient every session. If you count 6, those are how many hours? For example, 2 hours per session, those are 12 hours. And then maybe a child has put a bean in the ear and they just remove it, and just within a minute, the doctor is going to charge 1 million. They have no problem with it. But for us who are treating the mind, who are counseling, who are spending an hour, who are dealing with the emotions of this patient, they are very difficult, and they want to pay less. Why are these restrictions there in the insurance companies?
Now, you say that prevention is better than response, but why do you advocate for someone who is very ill and someone who wants to go for a checkup, a status, to know how he or she is doing mentally, or generally how he's doing or she? You don't cover.
Now, I'll start with the last question. When we speak about prevention, we speak about not giving cover for checkup. I think, let me discard that question and marry it with why we seem to exclude mental illness coverage. You were here in the morning, if you were. One of the things I said when I was at the podium, I said, one of the things I've realized today was the importance of mental health care and insurance. And I can also confirm to you that has been an exclusion. One, I would say probably because of lack of awareness, because today I learned that maybe 10% of a human being is the physical, and 90% is the mind. Now, we need to be sensitized. I don't want to think that insurance companies, ICEA in particular, that they are very conversant about the danger of mental health. They may not. They are part of this public. You are here in the morning and the representative of Minister of Health said a very disastrous statement. We do not have numbers. Surely, can I be saved today on behalf of my company? So what we shall do, the exclusions normally, they can be included at a higher cost. That's what it is. Every exclusion you see on an insurance coverage, they normally are included at an extra cost. So I don't want to stand here and say tomorrow we're going to start giving this cover, but what I can promise you is this is something that we're going to take seriously, and we are going to ensure that it's included. Why am I confirming this? Before COVID, pandemics were not undercover. We wouldn't cover you in the event of a pandemic. But when COVID came, the regulator, the Insurance Regulatory Authority, gave us a mandate that let us not exclude patients who are suffering from COVID. And we covered them. And we paid a lot of claims because of the cause of death being COVID. So I can assure you that this is true, that we have not been including it, but we shall. We shall. And this is something that we are going to take forward, because the questions were exclusion, segregation, and the like. It's not. Remember, when HIV was really rampant in this country, we wouldn't give cover for a person with HIV. We wouldn't. Today we can give cover because there's been development, there's been awareness, there's treatment. So because the awareness of mental health is also low right now, it is something that we have to really scrutinize, understand, and now be able to find a way of including it on the medical coverage. Thank you so much.